Hi guys, in this video I wanted to talk about how variation is allowing me to bench 4 days a week, and actually be in a lot less pain and actually improve my technique a lot more. So for context, in the past I would try doing 3 days a week of benching. That's pretty typical, and I always felt like my technique wasn't very good. Never really felt like I was responding very well to it. I would kind of maybe I would feel good for like a week or two, and I would just stall out with the progress. With 2 days a week of benching, I felt like I was nice and recovered, but the amount of volume I had to do on every single day as a consequence of the lower frequencies caused me to not really adapt the way that I wanted to going into each session, because those are kind of an optimal per session volume that you should be doing that is going to allow you to recover and adapt and not just spend most of the time recovering. Obviously, if you're doing too much volume, it's like, you're not really going to be growing that much muscle. You're kind of just overly fatiguing yourself. And this past block, I decided to go to 4 days a week with my coach, and really try including more exercise variation in my program. So I basically only do 1 day of comp benching, and then I have 1 day of total pressing. I have 1 day of close grip bench pressing, and then 1 day of tempo bench pressing, which you guys are seeing, or you guys did just saw. And this is really allowing me to do a few things. Number one, it's helping me prevent some overuse injuries, because I found that if I just do bench, 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 my shoulder on my left side tends to get really pissed off. Same with my pec. Even if I'm trying to make sure my scapula is depressed and all those proper technique things, I still just feel really overly fatigued and stressed in that area. Second off is that it helps give me better motor learning, because I'm getting lots of different um, sort of movement strategies on my bench press, and there's different things that I find the different variations help out each lifter with. Like for me, total press helps me really just keep my chest high and reinforces better pausing, because I'm not I had to actually use my arms to make sure the weight is paused above my chest. Close grip benching helps me out with having a little bit better scapular control, because it's a longer range of motion. I feel like I'm better able to understand how to use my triceps when I'm pressing on bench press. Better able to flutter my elbows as I'm pressing. Tempo benching helps me out with having my leg drive more on, keeping my chest high when I am lowering the bar down to my chest. That's just an example, and I found that for a lot of my clients, incorporating variation, especially on their secondary days, tends to work better than cueing in general, because it forces them into position to really understand, okay, this is what that should feel like. I'm actually in position. Basically, giving clients cues, I find, unless they are really like in tune with their bodies and like know what you're talking about, it's really hard for them to sort of translate that. So giving them exercises that are going to help them, improve their movement quality and execution tends to be really helpful. And then just as a other sort of side note, just like as probably like a general programming principle, variation can promote more quote unquote complete hypertrophy of your muscles, because if you, for example, are only doing squat patterns, like a leg press, hack squat, back squat, etc., you're not going to be getting full hypertrophy of your rectus femoris. You need to have leg extensions for that in your program. So if you are only doing squat, 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 you can still get good legs, but you wouldn't have that muscle as developed, and you might find that there's some sort of deficit in your overall ability to, maybe execute terminal knee extension on a squat, for example, because that's kind of what leg extensions help out a lot. Because a lot of times you'll see powerlifters who only do squatting, they might actually find that they have like a lot of slowdown out of the hole, and that really, like in that mid range or um, sorry, more towards like lockout. So this is sort of how I'm doing things in my program. It's really allowing me to, feel a lot better. I feel like my technique is a lot better. That's another, really big benefit of, variation, and also, using higher frequencies with that variation. I just feel like my bench is just always feeling nice and in the groove, and it feels a lot more comfortable. So if you guys are struggling with, overuse injuries, issues with your technique feeling good, and you want to have more complete muscle development, I would encourage more of a variation, especially as you are being a beginner. Obviously you need to have enough specificity to feel good on the actual movements, but I find that people tend to benefit a lot more from more variation than specificity. And I think that if you reframe specificity as what you need anyways to maximize your development, I'll help guide you on how much variation that you should include in your program. So Hopefully this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, ask down in the comments below. If you guys are interested in coaching or programming, links for that are in the show notes as well.